Imagine that you're 17 years old and you're traveling to Slovakia to participate in the biggest chess tournament of the year for you, the European Youth Chess Championship. You're 2000 rated, and because the number one seed is 2400 rated, there's not really any expectations on you winning a medal because let's be honest, it's going to be really hard for you to beat 22, 23, 2400s. However, you do. You end up winning the first game against the 1500, expected. You win the second game against the 2200. You draw the third game against the 2200. You win the fourth game against the 2200. And you win the fifth game against the 2300. And you're sitting there on 4.5 points out of 5. The tournament is 9 rounds long, so you're over 50% of the tournament. And you're ranked second. You ask yourself, how did this happen? Am I going to win? Am I going to become European champion? Am I going to be one of the few people from my country that have been able to win a medal in a tournament this prestigious? This, everybody, is the story of the best chess tournament of my life and how I almost got a medal at the European Youth Chess Championship in the year 2019. Now, guys, before I show you the game, I just have to tell you that back then, I thought I was really funny, okay? So I was sitting there at board number 2, and I looked around and I saw that many of the players around me were called Anna or had Anna in their name somehow. So I decided that it was very fitting to tell a joke 10 minutes before the game started among all the people that were probably really wanting to get a medal. Hey, isn't it funny that all of us are named Anna? It seems that we Annas are doing really good at chess. And well, let's just be honest, nobody laughed, and I felt really awkward, and I felt really awkward sitting there for the rest of the game. All right, everybody. So, my opponent started with the move d4, and I went knight f6. Now, she went c4, e6, and knight f3, d5. Now, this is a queen's gambit declined. You can, now white can take a lot of different paths, but she went for g3, which means that she wanted to play the Catalan opening. Now, the idea of the Catalan is simply that you're developing your bishop, you're putting it in this diagonal, and you're putting a little bit of pressure towards d5. A lot of time, white wants to go e4 to even put some more pressure in the center. And those are basically the plans in the Catalan. So, I back then played this line, and I actually still do when I'm playing blitz, but I went bishop b4 check. The idea of this check is that I'm first asking, what are you going to do with your pieces? Because if the knight moves to d2, then I'm blocking this bishop from developing. So it's going to be hard for the bishop to develop. And if the knight goes to c3, well, then there's some lines of capturing on c4. And then I'm going to try to defend this pawn. So most people go bishop d2 in this line. And in this position, the idea is simply to go back. So you can either go to e7, which is, I think, a little bit more common, or you can go to d6, which is the line that I played. And so what I'm basically saying is that, hey, now you can't place your knight on d2, and you're going to have to spend a tempo moving this bishop away somewhere. So that is basically the reason for why you do this move. Now, here she went bishop g2, and I went c6. The idea is that if white goes c5, I want to be able to go bishop c7 and keep my bishop in this diagonal. The reason I want to keep it in this diagonal is because I am actually playing towards e5 at some point. So I really want to control this square, and I also want to make sure that she can't go bishop f4. She can do it, but now I'll be able to capture the bishop. So I don't want her to be able to go bishop f4 and keep the bishop over there because it's going to be really strong in this diagonal. So castles, and now I went knight b d7. I'm actually developing all my pieces before I castle because I can castle the next move, but it's really important for me to get my pieces out to stop her from going knight e5 and getting a lot of central space. So here she went knight c3, castles, and now she went queen c2. Now, actually here, one of the most common moves is to go b3. Sometimes people go e4 even directly. The idea is that white is pretty much always going to be winning this pawn back. But b3 is one of the most common moves. The idea being to capture here on c4 and then to capture back with the pawn. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. The reason why I did really well in this tournament was because I was preparing every single game a new opening. My opponents never knew what opening they were going to face against me. I literally studied them like the night and morning before the game. So I spent 4 hours every single morning learning a new opening so that my opponents wouldn't have their coaches preparing them for the game. I wanted it to be my chess versus their chess. In this position, she went queen c2, and here I captured on c4. Now, like I said before, if you go b3, the idea is that you want to capture back with the pawn. So now that she went queen c2, now I'm capturing here because now she can't go b3, and she's going to have to capture back here with a piece. So I'm not really saying that I'm going to keep this pawn. This isn't an extra pawn, but I'm just saying, hey, if you take this pawn back, it's going to take you a while to do it. So, the idea here immediately is that I want to go e5. So white's idea here is that by giving up the c4 pawn, they're forcing my d5 pawn to get to like the c file, and that means that I'm not controlling this e4 square anymore. Now, therefore, e4 is one of the most common moves to do here, simply because you want to take as much center as possible. And if white goes e4, then my plan is to go e5 and immediately counter this, because if I don't go e5 in this position, then white is threatening e5, threatening both my knight and my bishop, but this move is going to come with a lot of force, even if I moved my bishop, because white is just going to get a lot of center, and I don't want to give this sort of central space to white. But she never went e4, instead she went bishop g5. Now, the idea of going bishop g5 is simply that she's pinning my knight, and she's basically saying that e4, e5 is going to come now with a lot of force. But not only that, she's also threatening to go knight e4, as I cannot capture because my queen is hanging. So she's now threatening a lot of stuff, and she's just being a little bit more flexible, saying, hey, I don't want to go e4 yet. So in this position, I did a weird move. The most common things, or the most normal things for me to do, would be to either go bishop e7 or to go h6. Now, bishop h7, to be honest, I'm not like the biggest fan, because I still don't like the idea that she might get bishop f4 at some point, and I don't really like the idea of her capturing and me having to capture back with the bishop, because if I capture back with the knight, then she's going to have knight e5, and I really need to stop her from getting the knight to e5, because the knight is going to be so strong. So I actually wasn't that big of a fan of this move. In this position, if I would have played in a normal way, then probably h6 is the move that I would have gone for. But the reason why I didn't want to do this in the game was because I was scared of knight e4 immediately. The idea being that my bishop is under attack. And and if I capture here, she's going to be capturing here. And okay, the engine thinks that this is after something like knight b6, maybe even slightly better for black, but I thought this looked very strange and very like scary. And for this game, like I was going to be really happy with the draw, obviously, against the 2300. So I did this move, which is very strange. Like the commentators, when I did this move, they're like, you know, what is she doing? Pretty much. Like this is like a strange move. I went queen a5. Now, during this tournament, I was really playing in a very creative way, I remember really wanting to feel that I was playing my games and that I wasn't constantly trying to find the best engine move. I felt very free in that way, which I think is one of the best things about chess, when you just feel almost like you have, you know, like a piece of paper in front of you and you can draw whatever you want, or you can paint whatever you want. To me, like playing chess was like painting. This is so weird. I don't know. This may sound very strange. So I wasn't scared of making moves that were strange, even though my dad after this game was like, hey, Anna, why did you go queen a5? And I was like, Dad, I thought the move was good. I liked it. The idea of queen a5 was very simply that I wanted, one, to get my queen out of this pin. Two, I wanted to be able to capture here with the knight so that knight e5 was not possible. So I was basically saying, hey, I'm defending this square. So for instance, here, if she would have captured here and here, then she cannot go here in knight e5, because I will just capture and win a pawn. And I thought that my queen was pretty good placed. I thought if she goes bishop d2, then she's lost the tempo going bishop g5. So then that move wouldn't have made sense. So how is she going to get my queen out of here? So I went here, and she went e4, which is actually a mistake. It's a slight inaccuracy from white to do this, Because now my move, queen a5, works really well. This is what I was hoping that she was going to do. Because now I'll be able to go e5, which I did, and I'll be able to protect this square really well. And she went e4 simply a little bit too early. She should have brought in her rooks before she did a move like that. She doesn't really want to capture here because actually that's another idea of queen a5, that after captures, captures, and captures, I am actually right now maybe at some point threatening if f4, okay, maybe I have a check first, but I can always like get my bishop out of this diagonal by capturing on c3, and then after pawn captures, it's actually going to be really hard for white to ever capture this pawn on c4, as this file is going to be blocked. So that was another idea. So I was really happy here. So here she went queen d2, which is also slight inaccuracy. Her queen should actually stay on c2, defending this pawn, etc. It's actually her rooks that she wants to have on the d file. So after queen d2, I simply captured on d4. And after knight captures, I went bishop e5. Now, once again, the idea was simply that I wanted to be able to capture here on c3. Now, here she made a really big mistake. I remember that she did a move, and I just asked myself, what is going on? I wouldn't say I'm low on time here, but I remember like being in slight time trouble, which is really not strange for me. But come on, Anna, this move 13. Why are you in time trouble? But here she went knight f5, and this is a blunder. This is straight up a blunder. And the reason for that is because I have this fantastic move, which I did, knight c5. Now this position is minus 2.5. So can you guys understand the position I was in? You know, being right now in the European Chess Championship, being second in the tournament, being ranked 2000, and realizing that I have a winning position in round number 6 against another 2300. I mean, I was really on my path here to make a norm for woman I am, or I mean, if I would have won a couple more games, maybe even woman GM. Yeah, so I went knight c5 here, and the idea here is that one, I'm threatening to capture here on f5, completely destroying white's pawn structure, but two, this pawn on c4 all of a sudden is a good pawn. Before, it was just a pawn that was kind of weak that, you know, I captured a pawn here. But now this pawn is going to be amazing. This queen is completely misplaced. The rook is going to come into d8. I'm going to go knight d3, and all of a sudden, all my pieces are amazingly coordinated. This knight is amazing. This bishop, amazing. This queen, amazing. This bishop, amazing. This rook is going to be amazing. I mean, the only piece that's not doing a lot is this knight. But, you know, the knight is at least developed and it's in a good square. Now, in this previous position, she should probably just have gone f4, which I remember being the move that I was expecting. Probably after f4, we would just have exchanged, and then gone something like queen b6. And then we would just have had a big exchange of pieces. And hopefully, I would capture with the a pawn to open up this file. Hopefully, this would have been a draw. I mean, that's slightly better for black because I still have this extra pawn, but at the same time, my pieces are now a little bit more strangely coordinated. This bishop needs to develop. This knight needs to move. I have some double pawns. So the compensation is, I mean, white has some compensation for being a pawn down, but it's not so clear. But yeah, she did this move knight f5, and I immediately went but I went knight c5, and I immediately knew that this has to be better for me. And I remember shaking at this point because I realized just how big this was. So she went queen e2, and I capture on f5. Captures. This is now almost a -4 position. This is a -3.5 position for black. So I have a lot of advantage. Now here I made a mistake. And I think that this is psychological because I was constantly trying to get myself to a position that I could never lose. Because I really wanted to draw this game because I knew that that would set me in a fantastic 5 out of 6. And that would set me, you know, I would have the white pieces the next game, and it would set me in a really good position for the final 3 rounds. So in this position, I considered going knight d3, but I decided to not take such a tactical, it's not even tactical. It's really not a tactical move. I mean, it's literally like placing my knight on d3 and having a fantastic knight over here. But I decided to go for a safer option, which was simply to capture on c3. Now this move, I mean, I'm slightly better, but it takes away a lot of my advantage. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this was because I was really excited about getting an extra pawn, and I think that I thought that my position was better than what it was. I definitely thought that I was much better here, and the engine thinks that this is around equal, because white is now, because I've captured the c pawn, white is now going to get a lot of activity on the c file. But still, like in this position, I'm 2 pawns up, and I really thought I'd be able to keep the 2 pawns up. So I thought this was an easy position for black to play, which was the reason I opted to go for this. Now here she went rook c1 and I went queen d3. Now, the idea is simply that if queen takes and knight takes, yes, I'm going to lose this pawn, but I will have an endgame where I am basically 3 versus 1 on the queen side. And here it's, all these pawns are blocked. So in my way of thinking, I was almost 2 pawns up because this pawn was so weak. And I thought that in endgames, I would always be so much better because, in all pawning games, I'm super winning as I have 3 versus 1, which means that I'll be able to get, for sure, I'll be able to get a couple passed pawns. I think that she knew that if she captured on d3, she could never win because of the pawn structure. So she went queen e7, and this is a blunder. This is also a really big blunder. Once again, putting my position, minus 2.5 is, the engine evaluation. And here I made a huge mistake. And this was actually really painful because I remember taking a knight and then looking at the knight and saying, I was going to take the other one. Like, this sounds absolutely insane, but I literally, took the wrong knight. Yeah, it was really painful because it was such, a mental thing that I simply was, I was looking at my position and I literally captured the wrong knight. And I couldn't get over it. It's the move that I did isn't terrible, but the idea of queen e7 is that she's threatening to capture this knight with a couple of pieces, so I need to defend it, and there's several ways I can do it. I could, for instance, go knight e4 to, bring up my knight here, or I could go knight d7. Now, I wanted to go knight d7 because I wanted to stop her from going queen takes b7. But for some reason, I took the c knight instead of the f knight. And I was really mad at myself. And that was a really stupid thing. But I went knight c d7 and I immediately realized that this was a huge blunder. I'm still better, but I'm losing my advantage because after bishop takes f6, I need to capture back with the knight. Well, okay, I thought that I had to capture it back with the knight. I actually don't. I can actually in this position go rook f e8, which is the only way that I can try to keep some sort of advantage because then she has to go queen b4 and at least I've gone an extra tempo. So, but I capture here back with the knight and she went queen takes b7. We can see that in the previous position, it would be the same thing, but my rook would be on e8. So I would gain 1 tempo. So queen takes b7. Now here, I still did not think that I could ever lose this because I'm 1 pawn up. And this pawn is really weak. So I just thought, worst case, I lose these pawns. I take this one, boom, draw. Has to be a draw, right? It's the same amount of material. Little did I know that she was really good at endgames and I wasn't as good. But I really remember how painful this moment was. I was almost crying at the board because, of this whole knight situation. I don't even know what went through my mind. It was really strange. And it's actually happened to me several times that I just do something really stupid that when I'm doing it, I know that it's stupid, but my brain and my hands are just not coordinating. It's very strange. But in this position, I went c3 thinking that I could do something with this pawn. So I started pushing it. I had already given up on this pawn. Probably here I should activate my rooks, but I just said, hey, rooks don't matter. I'll just push my passed pawn because I suppose that's what we're supposed to do. Now, I was actually really calculating, but I think I was getting a little bit lower on time here, at least in the lowerish part of it. So c3 and she went rook f d1 and yeah, now in queen e2, I really think I should have captured on f5 to kind of just simplify the position, but I was trying to go on tactical things against the king. I still had a knight that maybe could do some power in front of the king. So here she went queen b3, which is a good move, and I went rook b8, and this is good as well. My idea was to bring the rook up to b2 and to simply capture here on f2. Now after queen f3, I captured and took on a2. Once again, really thinking that this is a position that I can never lose. Even if I lose these 2 pawns, it's going to be 4 versus 3. No way I lose this, right? Well, rook takes c6. I went rook e8 and rook c7, a5. I started pushing this pawn. Here I started realizing that white is better. I was really scared of moves such as g4, h4, and g5 because my knight is actually really weirdly placed, and this bishop was just so much better than my knight. Bishops and rooks typically work a lot better than than knights and rooks because bishops are long-range pieces, whereas knights are short-range pieces, and rooks are also long-range pieces. So you want to have pieces that are pretty much of the same range, at least when it comes to rooks and bishops. So rook a7, she's putting the rook behind the pawn, and I went h6 to get a little bit of air for my king. Actually, probably would have been better to go g6. I mean, there's a certain rule of thumb that if she has a light-squared bishop, you shouldn't go h6 because she's always going to be able to control this diagonal. And this is actually something that I think I would never play h6 today because like my parents have engraved this so much in my brain. But yeah, h6 is actually a slight inaccuracy. I should probably go g6 or even g5 and place my pawn here and then go h6 and give my king the ability to go to g7. In fact, this move h6 was probably the reason I lost the game. And I'm going to show you guys why. So h6 gives white a slight inaccuracy, rook c1, and then rook e5. Now, rook e5 was an inaccuracy because I should just not allow her to do any checks over here. But once again, one of the main issues is that after, any checks, king h7, I'm not happy about being in the same diagonal as this bishop might be at some point. But she went rook c8. And okay, in this position, this was probably when I committed the biggest mistake of the game. I should just have gone king h7. But I thought that rook e8 was fine. I was very low on time, and I was trying to do the most forcing thing. I was trying to exchange pieces for no apparent reason. I was really scared that I would never be able to capture this pawn because then, there would be bishop here at some point. Or yeah, I mean, actually, I'm going to give you guys the exact line I was scared of. I was scared of king h7. I was scared of rook takes f7. And then I was scared of rook takes f5, bishop over here. This was, for some reason, like what I was scared of because I didn't realize that there was a drawn endgame simply because of this pawn. So in this position, I went rook e8, which is a blunder. So, okay, you might say that this is the reason I lost the game, but it all started with h6. But it becomes really beautiful. The reason for why this is lost, you guys are going to see it. It's really not what you think. It's not something tactical that happens now. It's just that it's a lost endgame. And this is probably one of the most instructional endgames that I've ever had in my life. So after rook e8, she exchanged and went rook e8, and now my knight is pinned. Now, in this position, actually, like the best move would have been for her to go bishop d5. And after this, there's rook a1 check. And then after king g2, the main issue is that this pawn is becoming very weak. And after something like, for instance, rook d7, my knight is under attack. I actually don't really have any good place to go with it. I mean, let's say I go knight over here. And the issue is that there is going to be rook d8 check, king h7, and bishop takes f7, and there's nothing to do to stop the checkmate. Once again, all starting with this h6 move. But she didn't go for that. She went rook a8, and now it's the moment where I'm telling you that it's not an immediate tactical thing that makes her be +3, but it's actually, a really beautiful endgame idea. So rook a8, my only move is to go king f8 to defend this knight, and after bishop c6, I need to go rook e2 to defend this. Now, in this position, actually, probably she should just keep the tension going, go f3, f4 or something, and then try to bring the king in. But she captured on a5, and this is a blunder. But then I went rook e1 check and king g2. And then after king e7, captures, she went f6. Like this move, everything that is about to come is just so beautiful. When she played this, I really thought this was a simple draw, 3 versus 3, rook versus rook. But actually, I didn't realize how careful I had to be here to not lose the game. The idea of f6 is that she's completely destroying my pawn structure. And if I go something like, for instance, g6, I'm going to be completely lost after rook a8 check, king d7, and then rook f8. There's no way for me to defend this pawn. As if I would go rook e6, king e6, there's rook e8 winning my rook. So the only move I have here is to capture on f6. Now after rook a8, I need to go king e7, and after rook h8, I need to do a move that I didn't do. I need to go h5. Either h5 or rook e6 with a similar idea. The idea is that I need to get this rook out of the 8th file. Now this is crucial. And I didn't understand in the game that this was crucial. But it's crucial that I get my king to g7. And this is something I learned later on when analyzing the game. I need to get my king to g7 because I need to stop this pawn with the king. And I need to defend this pawn somehow. So I need to do this now. If I do other moves, I'm gonna give her a lot of winning chances. So I need to go h5. The idea is that after h5, rook takes h5, I can go king f8. In fact, any other move apart from king f8 here loses. I need to go king f8, and I need to place this king on g7. So, and now this is just going to be a draw because she's never going to be able to get through. I'm always going to be able to stop this pawn with my king and my rook. The other move that I can do apart from h5 is to go rook e6. The idea is that after rook takes h6, I can go king f8, and here I am defending this pawn on f6. So, now I'll be able to go king g7. The other idea with rook e6 is that if she does a random move like h4, I can go f5, and now I'm defending this pawn, and I will be able to go rook g6, king f7, king g7, pretty much. So that is the idea with rook e6, but I completely missed that move because it doesn't look natural to put your rook in a place where a pawn is blocking it. So I went rook e5, but now the issue is that after rook takes h6, I cannot go king f8 because the pawn is now hanging. So I went king e6, completely misunderstanding what the idea was for me. I thought that I could get my king up through f5. I thought this was completely fine. Now she played this really nicely. She went h4 and I went rook e4. The idea was just to maybe go rook g4. I went king f5 and I had no idea this was plus 15 for white. No clue. I really thought that I still had chances of saving it, although this was the moment where it's like, hey, wait a second, how's my king getting in? And then she went rook g8 and I realized that I'm lost. My king is completely cut off. I will never be able to go king e6 because there's rook e8 check. My king is completely cut off and it's going to take too long to replace my rook somehow. And, I cannot go rook g4 because after captures and captures, it's going to be a 3 versus pretty much 1 endgame because these pawns are doubled. It's completely lost. And we played a few moves, but here, I realized that there was nothing. I was trying, anything. I captured and she just went h7. And here I resigned because she's promoting the next move. Now that was truly heartbreaking for me, but honestly, she played the endgame a million times better than me. But it was really heartbreaking because I had been able to create such a good middle game position. But after analyzing the game, I realized that endgames are actually hard, and this particular endgame really had the characteristic that I had to understand where I needed to place my king, and I didn't understand it. And to be honest, I really learned a big lesson after this game, and I have always remembered this, that, in a position like this, I always need to have the king on g7, because the h-pawn is always going to be a big threat. It was very sad because after this game, I completely collapsed in the European Chess Championship. I ended up losing the game after this and then the game after that in actually really bad ways. I was just not playing well anymore. And then fortunately, I won the last round against the 2100 and it was pretty sad. My placement ended up being 5th shared, but after the Buchholz and everything, I ended up getting 13th. So obviously, I had a starting rating of 33rd in the tournament. It was a big tournament. Getting 13th was obviously good. I was gaining 100 points of rating. Obviously, it was amazing. But I really, with just half a point more, literally with just half a point more, I would have gotten 4th. It really was heartbreaking that I wasn't able to get a medal because this is the absolute closest that I've ever been to do something like that. But it really did inspire me and actually uninspire me. After this tournament, I was feeling happy but sad that I wasn't able to completely fulfill my potential, or I wasn't able to perform all the way. And I was actually pretty sad about that. And then after that, I played I played 2 more tournaments a couple months after, and they both went pretty badly, not terribly, but pretty badly. And that is where I lost. In total in the 2 tournaments, I lost 100 points of rating, which was everything that I gained over here. And then I decided to take a little bit of a break from chess because I was just emotionally devastated about my ups and downs in chess. I didn't understand how I could beat 2300 rated players, but then lose against 1800s. I was really emotionally devastated. And then the pandemic came and I started a Twitch channel and I haven't really played competitively since then. So this was actually one of the last tournaments that I ever played competitively. And yeah, that's why I wanted to share this game with you because it actually meant a lot. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the analysis and seeing me play some over the board chess. Let me know if you want to see more recap videos like this, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'll see you all in my next video.